Hi, and welcome to Ritual, a magical role-playing adventure, tabletop, magic-themed, collaborative game where you and a group of your friends play magical beings, educated magicians that take on a threat that threatens to destroy the world as we know it. Just an introduction for you. This is a 1 to 5 session mini campaign style game that takes your player characters who are highly trained users of magic who discover and uncover a plot or a threat that is going to destroy the earth or all life as we know it. And only the use of a collaborative, powerful ritual that you define and execute will save all of humanity and all life as we know it. So let me tell you a little bit about how magic works in the game of Ritual, because it's a little different than other games that you might have played. Here are a few principles that you need to know. First of all, magic is academic. In the world of Ritual, it's assumed that if you're a magician, you have learned magic through academic study. In the world of Ritual, there's no sorcerers who have innate power. There's no demonic lineages. There's no gods who bestow magical powers. Everything is learned academically, and you use those academics as much as you can to execute the magical effects that you want to create. Secondly, magic is precise. This is going to come into play a lot because the more accurate that you are able to perform a magical incantation, typically in the form of a dice roll and a difficulty tier you set, will determine if you are successful or not. 3, magic has limits. While your player characters are immensely powerful, there are things that they cannot do alone that are simply too powerful. And this is where ritual magic comes in, because your group will have to collaboratively work together to create a massive effect capable of saving the world. 4, magic has consequences. Your characters will get beaten up through this process. They will make deals with devils. They will take psychological, mental, physical, magical damage. You will have scars, and you will have maybe even some more knots to untangle than when you started. And 5, magic is secret. We're going to talk more about this here in just a second, but the world does not know about magic or that it exists, and that is by design. In the world of Ritual, a council of archmages exists as an informal government of sorts, and they are there to protect the prime directives. There are 3 rules that every magician agrees to abide by. And the Council of Archmages does hold magicians accountable to follow them and will punish any magician that violates them, up to including binding your powers, swiping your memory, and potentially even doing something worse, imprisonment or worse. Here are the 3 prime directives. First, magic must be kept secret from the mundane world. You cannot perform magic in front of everyday human beings. They don't know that it exists and they can't handle it. 2, never harm the innocent. The fundamental belief is that the world is worth saving and that you can never take out your frustration or even accidental magic on humans. And last, magical solutions for magical problems. There are a lot of interventions in the world, in the natural world, that would make sense, but the belief is that there are enough magical threats to keep magicians busy. So magical solutions for magical problems. Your characters will work with 4 stats. Physicality, and these are types of magic. Physicality magic is used to augment your own body. That could be shape-shifting or enhanced strength or speed. IQ has to do with knowledge and the acquisition of information, mind control, mind reading, illusions, anything psychic related. Your will is exerting control on the world. That could be telekinesis. That could be creating and controlling the elements. and luck. Luck is your defense stat. It is anything that protects or defends the caster. Luck could be speaking with and communing with ghosts, or being a jinx and exerting luck and fate and playing around with those features that exist in the world to your favor. In the world of ritual, again, we talked about magic being academic. The belief is that small magic, in the language of ritual, it's common magic, are little effects that everyone is proficient in. And these are little effects along the way that the belief is that your character is so proficient in these, and such as sending a telepathic message, or scrying, looking in a mirror and seeing other places, conjuring up a key if you need it, or summoning a small creature to come and grab something for you. All of these are small expressions of magic that really have no risk associated with them. They're easy to perform, and it's expected that your character can do them proficiently every single time. And that list is not conclusive. That list anything you can think of, you should ask about. When you're building your character, here's what you do. Now, we just talked about common magic. What I want to talk about is discipline magic now. Discipline magic is your magician's secret sauce and natural talent. This is a particular type of magic that your magician excels at, and you are capable of doing things that your normal everyday magician won't be able to do. You will have access to elite and extraordinary magic. We'll talk about that in a second. That is heads and shoulders above what any other magician can do. So when you build your character, you're going to start. There's 12 options. There's 3 options in each of the 4 stats. So you could have physicality-based disciplines, IQ-based disciplines, will-based disciplines, or luck-based disciplines. You're then going to be able to assign points to your 4 statistics. And when you are attempting magic that's not your discipline, you'll pull a dice that you'll define for that particular ability. For example, if you're a physicality-based magician and you want to augment your body, give yourself steel skin, but the situation is kind of calling for you to throw a fireball. Well, that's not a physicality discipline, but you can still cast a spell with your will. And so you're going to have a dice that will allow you to do that. It will be less powerful, but you can do the thing that you need to do. While going on to number 3 here, backstory, the Ritual is not a character development heavy game. It is far more of a puzzle and heist style game. However, your character needs some motivation of why they're doing this. So in the most basic sense, your backstory is going to be made up of someone you love, somewhere you love, and something you love. And then number 4, together you will determine how your party came together. All of you are respond to and take orders from the Council of Archmages. They mobilize you to address and investigate these threats. And so you have to figure out if you're their first phone call, or maybe you're the lovable rejects and you're their last resort. Either way, your party needs a reason to be together. Here are the 12 disciplines that you can choose between. And this will be a handout available to you during character creation, whether it's physical abilities like shapeshifting, or elemental like your Stormright, controlling lightning and thunder, or if you want to be the healer and the life warden, or the fabricator where you can summon creatures to your aid, or disrupt electronics. Most magics are going to be contained here somewhere, so pick the thing that looks interesting to you. This is how you would set your stats. So you'll start with a D6 in every stat. At the beginning of the game, you'll be able to assign 10 experience points to the other stats, and that will determine the dice that you use for those particular rolls. Your discipline stat is always a D20. And so anytime you are using magic that falls thematically within your discipline, you get to roll the big dice. In the example here in the second box below, this would be a luck, a character with high luck. So anytime you are trying to defend yourself, or you're trying to do anything that would fall under the luck themes to assist the caster, you would be able to roll a D12. However, this character, if they're going to try to punch somebody, he only gets a D6 to work with their physicality die. So you have to learn to play with your strengths. There's also a couple of fun little stat bonuses that you'll get depending on which stat your discipline naturally falls within. So you may start with an extra life point, or you may start with extra magicka tokens or more experience points, or get advantages on non-discipline magic, depending on what you choose. Here's how difficulty checks work. This should be pretty straightforward. You have thresholds that you need to beat to be able to perform different levels of magic. The common magic we talked about a second ago is anything up to 5. These are small effects that you do not have to roll for that just happen. But you might want to try for something a little bigger. In that case, you have to roll at least a 5 or higher to be able to do that thing. Expert level, 10 or higher to be able to do that thing. Elite and extraordinary magic is only available to someone with that discipline. It is considered so specialized that to attempt it, you need to be able to roll that D20 to be able to do that. If you get a 20 or higher, you pretty much have done the extent of what your discipline is capable of, and you can do a very, very impressive effect that will probably alter the game. Now, how you determine that difficulty is built on a few different criteria. Now, these criteria will not apply to every effect, so you're going to pick and choose the ones that do apply to it. So it could be the size of the effect. So let's think about the fireball or the animal you want to shapeshift into. Here's kind of a growing level of size that you're capable of creating. Now, if you're doing a psychic effect, size really doesn't matter, but the range might and the duration might. If you're doing something with your physical abilities, intensity is going to come into effect. Twice your natural ability, 5 times your natural ability, and your impact. Is it going to be doing damage or not? So what you're going to do is determine any of these columns that relate to the effect you want to create. And in essence, what you're looking for is the highest level difficulty that pertains to the effect you're describing. That will be the difficulty that gets set. Let's do an example. So let's say you want to create a 10-foot radius fireball that deals 2 points of damage to 3 enemies in the scene. So let's look back at our list here. So you want to do a 10-foot. That's a range. So that's proficient. You want it to hit 3 targets. Let's come all the way over to the complexity column. I go down to see 3 targets. That's expert level. But if I want to do 2 points of life damage, I look at the impact column. That's an elite level, which means I can only do that if I have the if I have the magical discipline that allows me to create fire. So in this case, this would be an elite level skill that I'm attempting, and I really only can do it if I have that discipline. The nice thing about this is you might scale that back and say, okay, well, I guess I can't make that big, but I could at least do 1 point of damage. If that's the case, then I could back it down to the highest level of difficulty now is expert. And now I can try and make that effect happen. Magicka tokens and Magicka Fate tokens are a fun, dynamic modifier currency. Magicka tokens are tokens that you can use to add to your dice rolls. You're going to start the game with 5, unless you're a luck-based discipline, which will start with 10. And you can use Magicka tokens and turn them in to increase the amount you rolled on your die. So let's say you're going for an expert level magic and you need a 10 or higher. If you roll an 8, you can add 2 Magicka tokens from your stash to your 8, and voila, you've made a 10. Now your effect is successful. You can earn more Magicka tokens if you succeed without needing to use Magicka tokens. And in that case, you get them back. You also get a Magicka token every time you complete a quest. So the hope is that you're going to be able to use these dynamically throughout the game. And remember, you can put all the Magicka tokens on the final ritual at the end, giving yourself a huge chance at success. Magicka Fate tokens come into play if you roll the highest possible number on a die. You get a Fate token, which will allow you to re-roll any future roll, potentially giving yourself more success. And you can put an experience point into your stats and what you tried to roll. So let's say you have a D8 in your IQ, and you attempt to learn something from a computer. Great. And so you're able to roll with your IQ, and you meet and you roll an 8 on your 8. Then you get an experience point. You rack up enough of those, that D8 could become a D10 in the course of this game. Magical backlash. If you fail to reach what you need to, even with the use of Magicka tokens, you are going to experience a consequence. Now, there's a whole table of backlash opportunities. At the top of the table, at the 1s, 2s, and 3s, are minor inconveniences, down to 19s and 20s, which are losing life points and maybe even losing life points for your allies around you. How much you fail by determines how many D4s you roll, which means that the highest echelon is only available if you really fail by a lot, by 5. If you roll more than 5 and you don't try and fix that with Magicka tokens, you lose a life point. And anytime you roll a natural 1 on a die, you lose a life point. Also, anytime you violate the Prime Directives, the Council of Archmages will come after you. So make sure you clean up your own messes. The ritual. Okay, so here is the timeline. You're going to create your characters, and then you're going to learn of a threat that exists in the world, and you're going to go investigate it in a role-play narrative that the GM describes for you. You're then going to come up with a solution, and this is the ritual that you are going to use against the threat. So let's say you discover that aliens want to invade Earth. That could be the threat. Your solution might be to put a magical force field around the entire Earth so that unwanted beings or beings that intend the Earth harm are not allowed to penetrate that. And thus you have created a shield. So once you've created that solution, then you get to define what you need to pull off that ritual. And these are the component quests that you're going to go on. You're going to define as a group, with using your wild imagination, what the components are to make this ritual successful. Here's the belief. The ritual you're attempting has never been done before. You have to use your educated guess and your academic skill and prowess to come up with 3 things that should work to make this happen. And then 4th is the conditions. You have to actually set up the ritual at the right time and the right place and do the right things, and then we will see if the ritual is successful. So the components that you need, you're going to need a material component that represents the threat. In our example, maybe you need a piece of a UFO. Maybe it's in Area 51, and maybe it's heavily guarded. Your group's going to have to figure out how to infiltrate Area 51 and steal a piece of a UFO. That can be your material component. The magical essence is your solution. So let's say that you knew of a legend of one of the Knights of the Round Table who received a magical blessing, a shield that was dipped in a magical pool in the heavens. And it is stored somewhere underneath the pyramids of Egypt. Then great, you're going to go there and you're going to have to figure out how to find it and how to get it. Power source can be something like lightning, or it can be demon blood, or it could be the halo of an angel, or it can be an idea. It can be a broken heart, or a mended heart, or something specific. The idea is it has to be powerful. And then you have to determine the conditions. Do y'all have to do it at twilight? Do you have to do it as a dance? Do you have to do it on a moving on a moving train? Do you have to do it on the top of Mount Everest? Where do you have to do this ritual for it to be successful? So for the component, you're going to come up with all this crazy idea. What is it? Where is it? And who's guarding it? The GM will kind of tweak it a little bit. While on the quest, you're going to set some personal goals that if you achieve them throughout the quest, then you're going to increase the value of the dice that you earn towards that final ritual. This could be something like, I am going to complete this quest with at least one successful display of elite magic or extraordinary magic. If you do that through the course of it, then you can increase the value of the component that you are finding. What you need is a very powerful component, and how you get it is going to determine how powerful it really is. And then once you define it, then the GM will create a role-play scenario, put obstacles in your way, maybe enemies, maybe mundane people, maybe other magicians, or a cult, or a demigod, and they will put them in your way. You have to figure out how to navigate your way through to get what you need. When you're coming up with good component ideas, just remember they need to be symbolically relevant, magically thematic, and dangerous to procure. All right. While magicians are not warriors, there is a combat mechanic. And here's what you need to know. Everyone starts with 3 life points, except for physicality disciplines. They start with 4. If you ever do reach 0 life points, you could die unless there is some kind of intervention that happens. You can heal 1 life point between quests. Your life is fragile, and this is magic, and you are still mortal. And so you have got to learn how to prepare yourself and avoid danger as much as possible. If you do get into combat, your physicality and your will stats are going to be your offensive stats. Physicality will be for melee or hand-to-hand combat. Will be for ranged combat or area of effects combats. If you are ever attacked and you are defending, then you will lose your luck stat to defend against physical attacks, and IQ against any psychic attacks or mind control attempts. And these will be contested rolls. So you and the GM will roll against each other. Whoever rolls the lowest loses. And this is something you can put magicka tokens on. So it'd be worth figuring out how to bolster that up and make sure you save a couple for a rainy day. Lastly, as you get to the end of the game, if you picked an exciting game, that the GM's going to roll a bunch of D8s. A challenging game is a little bit harder with D12s, and a deadly encounter is D20s. It's going to be really hard to beat. Your quality dice are the 12 that you collect along the way, 3 from each quest, including your conditions. And as you go through and complete your goals, you can create those. Just getting the component is worth a D8. But if you actually do accomplish your goal, for example, using elite or extraordinary magic, that D8 could become a D12 or could become a D20. And then also at the very end, you can throw in all your magicka tokens. The big question is, was it enough? And so your group, scars and all, are going to risk it all at the last possible moment to determine if you are success or failure, and see if you live to fight another day. So there's the basics of ritual. Again, there's some little bells and whistles and rules along the way, but this should give you enough of an overview to understand how to build characters, how to use them, and what to expect during your game.